You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Welcome to the Sporting Time Show and good evening. I'm your host, Doug Thompson. Well, this time of year, we're usually getting ready for a state football championship and talking about high school basketball holiday tournaments. But that is not to be this year. But in this show, we've got great guests lined up, and I've got a great co-host today in Brandon Phillips. He joins me as we talk about the 4 South Central Kentucky teams that have made it to the region finals. Brandon, how are you?
It's so good to be here, Doug. As you said, as we heard winter sports start to come to a screeching halt, we were all worried about what would happen with fall sports. So it's great to have the opportunity to be here and talk some football.
It's great to have you here. You and I go back many, many, many years.
I know.
Radio, podcast. We've done just about everything that we can do media-wise together. So it's great to have you back on this show in this beautiful studio.
Oh, my goodness.
That we have here. And a lot of hard work has gone into this. And it's just great to share it with you, Brandon. I can't say any more than that.
Well, just so many, in a year of uncertainty and so many things that we've learned to adapt and change, how exciting is it to have the new studio, the show's doing well, and obviously through Zoom and other platforms, you're still able to communicate with coaches and players, and you guys are just finding a way to get it done. I've enjoyed watching, and I'm even more excited to finally be here.
Well, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of football teams in South Central Kentucky, Brandon, that are still out there getting it done, and of course, our show airs the day after the region finals happen. But nonetheless, whether they win or they lose, it's so important to get as far as you can in championships in football. We're going to start off with Class 2A and then go on to 3A in this segment. But how about the Fighting Harbisons?
That's right.
They have been, for as long as I know, it has been a Harbison as the head coach, starting with Larry and then his brother, I believe Jim or Tom, Fred, I'm sorry,
the
Fred
brother
Harbison,
Larry.
and then L.J. Harbison is the current coach. But Brandon, they went 11 seasons with losing the opening round of the high school playoffs, and this year they found a little lightning in a bottle.
You know, the interesting thing this year, and I know we'll be talking about this in some of the other classes as well, is it's kind of been a year for revenge. And so, of course, you know, they lost to Edmonson County in the regular season. They're able to make it out of the first round, get a shot in a district final against Edmonson County again. This time they pull off the victory 34-27. And Doug, you were talking about, you know, we've been doing stuff for years when it comes to youth sports and particularly high school football this time of year. And I can't remember how long ago it was, but we were at Metcalfe County doing a show talking about the Hornets, and a Harbison has been there what feels like for the last 30 or 40 years.
Right.
And so it's so good to see these guys finally get not only out of the first round, but win the district. I know their community is very excited and be very excited to see what they can do against Lexington Christian.
You know, the beauty of high school sports is the fact that 2005, 2006, you make a quarterfinal appearance. 2007, you make it to the semifinals as Metcalfe County did. Last year, they go 1-9, and here they are vying for a region championship. We want to wish the Metcalfe County fans good luck coming up, and they've had a terrific season so far. We want it to continue on. And then not far down the road, you've got Glasgow, which, Brandon, I'm going to, you know, the song, the Christmas song, the Pear Tree. And
yes.
You know how I like to. So this is Glasgow, the last 10 years. 5 quarterfinals, 3 region finals, 1 semifinal, and 1 championship appearance. What can you say about the Glasgow Scotties?
Well, you know, I think back to the time we started covering Glasgow, which I think was the Rick Wood era, had just started. They were 2A, obviously they're 3A now. And when you start to look at the Glasgow football program, it has been a sustained program of success.
Yeah.
And they'll have a lull on occasion, but year in and year out, you can count on the Glasgow Scotties being in that playoff picture. And it's almost absurd to think about the amount of talent that has come through such a small school. And we're not just talking played at the next level. We're talking Division I talent in football has come out of Glasgow, gone on to do big things. And so when you have that kind of talent, the kind of coaching and the community support that Glasgow does, you have a chance to go far in the playoffs.
It's a traditional powerhouse. Coach Garman has done a tremendous job. 10 consecutive seasons they have been in the high school playoffs. And as I just said, they have done very, very well. So, Brandon, we got about 15 seconds left. what can you say about the Scotties other than they're going to be there every year
I know.
for as long as we
Write
know?
them in. They're going to be in the picture.
All right, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about 4A and 5A. Interesting storylines for both of those classes coming up. We're going to take a short break. More of the Sporting Times right here on WNKY NBC 40. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Sporting Times Show on WNKY 40.
Welcome back. Joining me now is the head coach of the Bowling Green Purples, Coach Mark Spader. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
It is great to have you now. Of course, you've got a big region championship game, Coach, that happened last night. Our show airs Saturday night, so we can make some guesses, but we won't do that in today's show. I do want to welcome you. You did have a big district championship win over South Warren Spartans, a game that I don't think most people would have guessed the final score. But what does that kind of win do for your program as you get ready to go into the region and further?
Well, I think with the quality of both those programs you're talking about, that whoever comes out of it has some confidence because you've beaten a really good team. I couldn't have imagined the score would be that. I don't think it's really a measure of how close the game was. Certainly our kids are on a high coming off of that, just as they would have been if they won it. So, it's difficult that second week of the playoffs, you got, two really good teams. One of them has to go home, but I'm certainly glad it's South Warren and not us.
Yeah. Well, this time of year, Coach, we're usually talking about the state championship game coming up this week. We're talking about high school basketball, holiday tournaments. You just finished up a region tournament. And is it weird for you to be kind of playing this late in the season?
We were discussing that at our staff meeting yesterday because we as coaches have a body clock just like everybody else. And, we're wired up. If you're playing in December, you're getting ready to play for a big trophy and some rings. Right. So, yes, we're so happy to be playing for a region title this week. But, it's just an odd time of the year. Of course, right now we have snow outside and wind blowing, bitter temperatures. But, going back to the summer, we said if we got a chance to play, we'd play anytime. Yeah. So that's the attitude that our program and our kids are taking.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We have 4 teams in South Central Kentucky that are vying for region championships. Of course, Bowling Green is one of those. Coach, I got to ask you about the Yell. There's been a lot of things on social media after I think this is the 51st season that football games have been played at the E.L. Donaldson Stadium. After your region championship game, the Bulldozers are going to come in. Kind of talk about you being, the active coach right now that will send this traditional stadium out and bring in a beautiful state-of-the-art stadium.
Well, make no mistake, I feel fortunate every day that I'm the head coach of this program. So, I started coaching here in 1991, so it's made me just reflect back a lot on a lot of time and a lot of years here. We have a lot of gentlemen on our staff that played here, grew up here. So those things are special. And it is a bonus game. We thought that the Greenwood playoff game would be the last game, and it kind of came and went. But I think this time we're really grasping the moment and trying to make this a special week. Of course, in this building, we're just going to be focused on North Bullitt, but it is pretty special. There's so many generations of players and coaches that have come through here. And what it means to them. And I'm not on social media right now, but my wife's been sharing with me. And it's really touching to read some of the things that ex-players and coaches and fans are putting out there. So, I make no mistake, I know where I am, and I know the magnitude of what this program means to a lot of people. And I think that's why we work so hard here.
Well, Coach, we've got about 35 seconds left. Our next guest is Ben Bruni, a historian of sorts. Coming up next, Coach. Any words about Coach Bruni?
Well, Coach Bruni has enough words for himself, so I will let him just share those. But no, I have a great deal of respect for I still call him Coach Bruni. He coached here with us, of course, played here. Now we call him Administrator Bruni jokingly, but he's a big part of the history of this program as well, and I'm sure he'll be a great guest for you.
Well, Coach, thank you very much. I have got you penciled into the semifinals. Of course, I'm not jinxing anything because this is Saturday night. Congratulations and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks so much for having me, Doug.
Thank you, Coach. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more of the Sporting Times right here on WNKY NBC 40. We'll be right back.
The ST Show is on WNKY 40 NBC. For the athletes, for the game.
Welcome back. One of the smartest guys you'd ever want to meet, a historian in sports, joins us right now. A former coach, hung up his whistle. Now he's an administrator, the principal of Russellville High School. Coach Ben Bruni. I can't stop calling you Coach.
That's all right. Now you put the word smart and my name together, and I don't really know if that works out, but I'll be honest with you. I tell people all the time, all through my life, no matter what I do professionally, I hope when they bury me and they write something on the tombstone, they put the word coach on it.
Well, I think they will, and I told you off air, and I'll tell you now, we do miss you in the coaching ranks, but I know, and there have been several that have gone on to being administrators, and you're over at Russellville High School now, and this time of year, do you miss coaching? Do you miss it in the fall? Do you think about it much?
I really do. I go to the games, and sometimes I struggle to keep my mouth shut like I need to. Sometimes I need to be a good administrator, just sit there and be quiet. And if I wanted to coach it, then I ought to be down there coaching. But I do miss it more than anything. I really miss the relationships that you build. Even as a teacher and as a principal, you don't quite have that same relationship you get when you get all those hours after school with kids, and you're really working in with them in intense environments, and the relationships you build with your fellow coaches. It's a special thing.
Well, I talked to Mary in your office, and I told her when I write my book, and I'm going to write a book, that I'm going to have a couple of pages reserved for you. And she said if I needed a few more pages to call her, she can add at least a few more pages to it.
Absolutely. I don't know if those pages will reflect well on me or not, but I'll take them however I can get them.
Well, they will on my end. So, Coach, you played for the state championship Bowling Green Purples. You coached there. As you know, it's the 51st season that they've played football at the E.L. Donaldson Stadium. They're getting ready to bring in a bulldozer and bring in a whole new state-of-the-art stadium. Talk a little bit about the coaching lineage of that program and just that stadium itself.
I mean, it's an incredibly special place. I think for many people like myself, it changed the direction of their lives. Obviously, many great coaches have coached there, and some of us that were players there have gone on to become coaches. But I think all too often people, they don't see those unseen moments that happen there. And, if I were really to kind of reflect on my time there, I would have to go back to the winter of 1995, before the 1995 football season when we won the state championship. In 94, we had lost the state championship on the 3-yard line, graduated a whole bunch of really high-quality seniors. We had some great guys coming back, and guys like me who had never really been a factor on a team before or anything like that showed up, and we wanted to be a part of that. And I'll never forget the very first day of winter workouts in January of '95. Jeff Griffith, the current head coach at Warren East, takes us all out on the track. He was the linebacker coach. And he looks at all of us and he says, "We don't want all you freeloaders that want to come on here and get a ring." He said, "We're going to find out whether you want to be here or not." So he took us out there, and it's snowing sideways and it's awful out. And he ran us for 1,610-yard sprints.
Oh, boy.
And I was ready to quit. I was done. I'll tell you what. And I'm doubled over. I said, "I hate football. I don't want any part of this. I got to get out of here." And I wasn't saying anything out loud, but Coach Griff comes up. He just pats me gently on the back like he does. And he says, "Well, I guess we won't see you again, Bruni, will we?" And right then and there in that moment, I made a decision. I would never quit football on that track with snow coming in sideways on a January day in 1995. And that changed every bit of the direction of my life. It drove me to be a football player, a coach, an educator. And that was one of those unseen moments that no fan saw, nobody saw outside of that. It was just between me and Coach Griff out on the track at L. Donaldson Stadium. It was a special moment.
Well, Coach, we're going to get you back on the show when we can have you in studio. Thank you very much, Coach, for being here. I look forward to having you back in studio. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more of the Sporting Time Show right here on WNKY NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We have two teams left that Brandon and I want to talk about. That is the Fighting Hoods out of Allen County, Scottsville, and also the Bowling Green Purples. Of course, Mark Spader had joined us earlier. Let's start off, Brandon, with Allen County, Scottsville. What a traditional program. And Coach Hood, you know, he comes in 2007. It only took him 2 seasons to go back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, 2009, 2010, and they make it to the state championship in 2010. They're back at it, and they have very much the same kind of team they did back in 2009.
We know, and Coach Hood has said it on Twitter, they've lost 3 games this year. The combined margin of defeat in those 3 games is 5 points. Yeah. And so they've played a lot of close games this year. They're very much battle-tested. The theme we saw this year in the district final, 3 of the 4 teams that we kind of cover in this area, they were all coming off regular season losses to their opponent, and they were able to defeat them in the district championship. The one exception, of course, was Allen County, who had lost to Russell County in the regular season. We thought we would probably see that rematch, but hey, Warren East comes in, knocks off a really good Russell County team, but just didn't have quite enough left in the tank by the time they got to Allen County, and now it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, I was kind of looking back at the 2009 team versus the 2020 team. Of course, 2009, you had Corey Cooper, Brandon Boards, and Hunter York. This year, this team has got Trace McIntyre, Landon Witcher, and then a monster of a running back, Dylan Rickstuhl. Here's the difference, Brandon. In 12 games in 2009, Allen County threw for 697 yards. In 8 games, they've already thrown for 817 yards. So this is a much better balanced team than even 2009.
Well, I think you've really started to see that some of your run-heavy teams over the last 10 years have really started to evolve. Now, maybe they're not all running the spread offense, but you're certainly starting to see more balance in the offense. And the one thing I would also mention, you talked about Dylan. He was the Kentucky Football Coaches Association District Player of the Year, District 2 Player of the Year, excuse me. And so to your point, when we think back to that 2010 team, a lot of talent, this team resembles that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we've got a picture up here of Dylan Rickstuhl. He's old school. No pads on his arms, nothing. He just gets after it, and he is a grinder. But, we wish all these teams the best of luck. Of course, the last team we want to talk about is the Bowling Green Purples. A big sigh of relief out of Purple Nation when they beat a very tough South Warren team, which they lost to earlier in the season. It was a defensive struggle. But Brandon, I see this team, again, we air Saturday night. They've already played their game. But I see them getting by North Bullitt and a head-on collision with a very good undefeated Owensboro Owensboro team.
Yeah, I think they certainly weren't expecting. I mean, they wanted to advance. I don't know they thought they would get another home game. And as you talked about with Coach Spader, obviously this will be the last home game before the renovation. So I know they're very excited to do it. But it was an absolute slugfest. And the two things that really stood out to me in that Bowling Green South game for round 2 in the district final was turnovers. I believe Bowling Green forced around 8 turnovers, including a blocked punt for a touchdown, and the ability to throw the ball downfield. Eli Burwash made several big plays downfield, 2 big touchdowns, which was something they were not able to do the last time they met. And the turnovers combined with the balls downfield made a huge difference in this game. And I think you're right. I think Bowling Green has a really good opportunity to win this game, and then you kind of roll the dice from there and see what happens.
You know, it's amazing. Basically, Bowling Green flipped the script on South Warren because a few years ago, South Warren lost to them pretty bad during the regular season, and then come back and win the district and go on. And Bowling Green does the same thing this year. They lose, not horribly, 10-7, but they come back and have a huge win offensively.
Well, and it really was a theme of this season. As we talked about, 3 of the 4 district winners that we cover lost in the regular season to their opponent and then went on to win the district championship. So I think the ability to realize that one game doesn't define a season, certainly 1 or 2 games does not, but when it's time to really play, when your back's against the wall and it's win or go home, that's what really counts. And we saw some teams really take advantage the second time around.
Yeah, well, it is great that we're having sports. We look forward to winter sports tipping off on January 4th. And by the way, go ahead and download the Sporting Times app on Roku and also Amazon Fire TV. You can get all your streaming right there. You can listen to Brent Thompson and Joe Brunk. Brandon, will you come back and visit with me again?
I would hope you'd have me. We'll see. We'll see how the reviews are, and then hopefully I'll be back one more time at least.
I think that the reviews are going to be very, very strong. We always see an uptick when you're on the show, and certainly appreciate it. I want to thank our guest, Mark Spader, the head coach of the Bowling Green Purples, and also Coach Ben Bruni. We will always call him Coach, and we certainly want to tell everybody out there that is watching the show tonight, be careful. Join us every Saturday right here at 6 for Doug Thompson and Brandon Phillips. Have a great week.